the IT industry is faced with a tricky balancing act, driving innovative initiatives while grappling with the side effects of traditional infrastructure. Now, as the traditional infrastructure becomes more complex and the clients are also becoming more sophisticated day by day, the IT department is kind of forced to look for the most effective solutions to enhance their IT operations, their management, and as well as accelerate problem resolution in a very a complex modern IT environment. And AI being a tremendous breakthrough has found great use in a diverse, dynamic, and difficult to manage IT landscape. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Analytics Insight podcast, where we talk about the ever-evolving technology space. And I'm your host, Priya Dialani. Now, artificial intelligence tools and features are becoming very popular. I think we all are quite aware of that. And they're also making like a lot of cutting-edge breakthrough in many software applications as well, including IT management software solutions. And today we will be talking about how AI can make a difference in this sector. So we are welcoming Ramamoorthy, Director of AI at ManageEngine. Hi, Ramaprakash, how are you doing?
Hi, Priya. I'm doing very good. I appreciate the opportunity and looking forward to a conversation.
Great, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you with us on a podcast today. So let's start by telling our listeners more about your company. What is ManageEngine exactly, and is it like what are the specialized services that you offer?
Perfect. So, ManageEngine is the IT management division of Zoho Corp. As a company, we have been around since 1996. And unlike a lot of other tech companies, we are privately owned, we are bootstrapped, and we have been profitable since day one. And we believe in playing the long game. Staying independent, staying privately owned has helped us do a lot of long term research. We understand the value is in building deep technical know how. So, for instance, we run our own data centers. We are not completely reliant on publicly hosted data clouds. So that kind of explains, right? Today, it's easier to go to the market with an AWS or a GCP, but then it takes a lot of hard work to run our own data centers. And we play the long game, basically. So the same thing about AI. We have infused AI into all our IT management products, everything from IT service delivery to IT monitoring to IT security, and the whole layer of analytics built on top of it. And again, it has been a long game. I started off with the company in 2011 as an intern. Back then, we just tried a few experiments just to see how well AI would fit the enterprise market. And slowly, we came into the AI summer, and today we have AI across our suite of products. Again, we're not a standalone AI company, but we are an IT management company where we believe AI could really make a difference across the suite of products. So slowly, gradually, we've had a lot of AI features available across ManageEngine suite of products, and all of these are available on-prem, on our cloud, on the customer self-hosted cloud. So again, this involves, if it is just an integration with a third-party AI API, it could just probably be available on the cloud. But because we play the long game, it's available on-prem, it's available in self-hosted versions and all that. So this is a very high-level overview of the company and what we do with AI.
Interesting, and it's so fascinating to hear how your passion towards AI or experimentation with what AI can bring at ManageEngine has helped basically implement artificial intelligence across a different suite of products that you're offering. Um, and also for us speakers, I think Ramprakash is a passionate leader with a level-headed approach to emerging technologies, and you're also a sought after speaker at tech conferences and events. So could you please also elaborate more about your role and contribution towards the company?
Like I said, I started off the AI initiative. I was an intern. I was reporting to, I have been reporting to Shailesh Kumar Deve, our co-founder and VP of engineering. What was a one-member effort, like me and
Mm-hmm.
Shailesh helping me out when I was the intern. And slowly, the first four years, it was very lonely. It was an individual effort. We were just trying to see how different bits
Right.
added up. And the challenge is we were retrofitting AI into products that existed over a decade or so, right? So that itself was challenging because you had to orchestrate all the data points that you needed. You had to make sure they were all in the same format. So it involved a lot of groundwork before we could actually experiment with any AI features in our products. And sometime around
Right.
2015, we started replacing our existing features. So say something like anomaly
Mm-hmm.
detection, would probably use a statistical bell curve model and say the bottom 10% and the top 10% are anomalies. Instead of that, we just replaced with an ML algorithm that would look at the past data, understand the trends, understand the seasonality, understand the different patterns in the data, and decide what is normal at a given point in time. Say, for instance, a Monday morning 9 a.m. is not the same as a Saturday morning 3 a.m. You cannot have the same thresholds for both of these points. So this is where ML came in and made a difference, saying, okay, Monday morning 9 a.m., the threshold is set differently. Saturday morning 3 a.m., the threshold is elastically adjusted depending on the kind of business. Say, for example, banks are very busy on the weekdays. Now, let's say you're a travel company, you're very, very busy on the weekends. So each user, each organization, they have a different pattern. So we engineered all of the AI that went into our products, and I started building a team around me in 2015. Today, the group Zoho Labs is about 250 people, and what we do is basically we solve common problems that exist across Zoho Corp suite of products. So, for example, we have a database research team that takes care of all database needs for the whole company. Same way, we have an AI research team that takes care of all the AI API needs across Zoho Corp suite of products. So, and I lead the group, broadly three divisions: statistical machine learning, computer vision, and natural language processing. So statistical machine learning, things like anomaly, things where you have to dynamically set thresholds, things where you have to find out the root cause analysis of incidents and use cases like that. Computer vision, mostly with respect to document processing. So there is automation of invoices, automation of receipts. Today, even though the documents themselves are digitally generated, when they are transferred to another system, they either come in as a PDF or as a photo. And how can you extract these relevant information and then fill the form? Today, there's a human doing it, and there's a lot of room for error. So the computer vision team broadly takes care of document processing. And finally, natural language processing, where automating human text, human written text, human spoken text. Can you generate a transcription out of this podcast? Can you transcribe a call and understand what the user wants to know? Can you put in LLMs and ensure, let's say, a service desk agent has got a ticket? Can you make sure the ticket is auto answered, or prompts are given so that the agent answers the ticket more efficiently, so your mean time to respond comes down? Or look at a big security incident, look at a big log dump, and try and understand what is going on within the log dump and what could be wrong, and also maybe mention the potential fix that could come out of it. So broadly, these three divisions now. And I also love talking, so I'm more like the AI evangelist for the company now. I talk in our
Okay.
conferences, I talk to analysts. So this is pretty much my role. On my everyday, I work with engineering managers within my team, and
Mm-hmm.
we also work with product managers of the customer facing products. Say, for example, ManageEngine service desk. We work with the product managers there to understand what their customer needs are and give them an API so that they can implement that AI feature in their product. So this is my everyday routine.
Glad to hear about your story, Ramaprakash. And I think up until now, whatever you've spoken about AI, I think I'm not sure currently, but in the future, I think AI in IT is more like a concept. It determines the future and everything the IT can hold. And I believe that artificial intelligence has not only transformed traditional computing method, but it's been successfully giving benefits to different industries and
Mhm.
also transforming them. And
Yeah.
I feel as the world is becoming more digitized and all industries are becoming more smarter, more digitized, IT companies and IT departments, it's very necessary for them to keep pace with the exploding boost of the emerging technologies, since it's accelerating innovations as well, but somehow it's also introducing complexities in terms of how effectively you can implement artificial intelligence. So I wanted to understand what are your views on the integration of AI into business operations?
Sure, Priya. First, I think the emphasis is more on IT than AI, especially after the pandemic. Both customers and employees, the digital experience becomes very important, right? So, 10 years back, having a website wasn't really needed, right? It was more like a good to have, but it's not a deal breaker. But
Right.
today, whatever you do, be it buying a coffee or buying something as expensive as a car or finding out the right vendor for your home interiors, your first touch point with any of these businesses is probably going to be digital. So it's not just about how clean your storefront is, how hospitable your staff are, but it's about how reliable a website you have. Can I, like, let's say I'm looking for home interior services. Can I get a quote right on your website? So how frictionless is the digital experience? And also the thing about this digital experience is it, 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 it fortunately or unfortunately is a very level playing field right now. So anybody doing business is directly competing head on with the Apples of the world, with the Amazons of the world, because for the customer, the last best experience he had is going to be the minimum expectation from now on, right? And you could run a small mom and pop store and then you could have a delivery service. They would expect, a customer would expect the same user experience as that of an Amazon or an Apple, right? So digital maturity has put has put IT at the forefront. So IT has technically moved from the back office to the boardroom. Today, you get so much of bad press when your systems are down, or when you have an outage, or when you have a privacy or a security breach. And the most of the regulators around the world, for example, our very own RBI, is very keen on cracking down banks and fintechs that are not very compliant with the data and digital practices. So IT becomes a very, very important aspect of your business. And even from an employee perspective, especially post pandemic, traditionally what was only accessible from the office network on the office machine is now, remote work is here to stay, right? So you can access it from any network on any device. Bring your own device has been a thing, but then today remote work is also, it's here to stay. Like, everybody wants to do remote work, and you have to ensure you give a good digital experience to your employees as well. And employee retention and customer retention are two big things for a business to stay afloat, and IT plays a very major role in catering to both of these. Now, where does AI come in? Again, AI has come in cycles over the years. If you see from the 1950s to the 2024s of the world, AI has come in spurts of excitement and then spurts of disappointments, right? AI summers and AI winters, because the technology always over promises and under delivers. That's how the technology has been. Because whenever we start talking about AI, we start thinking about robots. We start thinking about AI achieving singularity and trying to defeat humans. Thanks to Hollywood, thanks to all different movies that we read, that we watch.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah.
The idea is AI as a tool is something that looks at past data and something that tries to infer something about the future. If you think about it that way, it's just another piece of technology that can analyze data at a massive scale, right? Think about it. If you were to search through a telephone directory and find a telephone number in like 0.2 seconds, that is superhuman capability, right? But this is what databases do. You can do a search and get your results in sub-second latency. We didn't call databases as superhumans or trying to replace human beings and all of that, but somehow this technology has been marketed in such a way that it's always hyped. But what has made AI different this AI summer than the past AI summers is mainly because of three things. One is the fact that we have built revenue models around data, right? So in the consumer world, we don't pay for our search engines, we don't pay for our social media. Instead, we give back a lot of personal data and then we let them target ads on us. And it's a very successful business model. Two, data collection has become like really cheap. And all of us have a smartwatch that is just counting the steps
Agree.
you take, that is counting your heart rate, that is measuring your
Yeah.
sleep quality, that is telling you to move more. Right? And these sensors are like so cheap, accessible to even the weaker sections of the community. So your data collection has
Mhm.
become like really cheap. And third thing, the vast majority of compute via cloud. Today, you have virtually infinite cloud computing power, and it essentially, you've collected all the data. The next thing is to get insights out of these data, and then you have infinite computing power to do this. So all these three things put together has led to the rise of AI, and I'm sure AI is going to be a very consistent technology from now on. It's not going to come out in booms and busts. It's here to stay. So given all of this in the landscape, what can AI do differently that traditional techniques don't do? Traditionally, we have been talking about process automation for ages, right? The last decade has always been about process automation. Now AI
Agreed, yeah.
and starts to do the decision automation in businesses, right? So, for example, you are looking at an outage, there is a 60% chance of outage, then how do you go about it? There is a 80% chance of outage, then maybe you alert the marketing team, ask them to inform customers that they might experience intermittent access to your app, and let the top management know that there is some issue happening in the servers that you have hosted. But 60%, the same thing need not be that detailed to the top management or to the customers. Just the teams that are responsible could potentially look into it. So one big value that AI has added to the table is massive data analysis, where you look at tons of past signals, tons of things that you have done in the past, and then give you the indications, give you the next best action that you can do at any given point in time. This, in a nutshell, is what AI is doing in enterprise IT.
So moving forward, like you quietly said, but to back up what you said, I think a study by PwC states that
Mm,
72% of business executives believe that AI will be a business advantage definitely in the future. And
mm,
like you said, as the world is moving away from manual labor-intensive processes, companies are also increasingly relying on AI to streamline their operations.
mm.
From forecast engines and conversational assistants to anomaly detection and behavior analysis, I think AI capabilities have been progressing leaps and bounds in the last couple of years, for that matter.
Yeah.
And we will also expect shift from the strategic use of AI
Mm,
in order to enhance IT operations, like basic daily IT operations.
yeah.
And also like I believe that AI-driven applications are spread across different segments of IT. So we would want to know like some real-world use cases of managing solutions, how they have helped a particular industry or some of your clients, and if you can share the success metrics as well.
Absolutely, Priya. So, say for instance, let's talk about a security incident that happened in a hospital setup. And the thing is, 5 6 years back, you only had people with computer science degrees operating computers and all that. But today, the world is so digitized that uh, computing has become so accessible. We have democratized computing that not everybody with a specialized degree is only accessing sensitive information. And talking about hospitals, you have a ton of sensitive information that has happened. Now, let's say uh, a technician in a hospital clicked on a link, and where it was a phished link, and his or her credentials were harvested, and a ransomware was deployed in that machine, and slowly that ransomware spread across the hospital's local area network, and started talking to random domains, exporting all sensitive information that they had. uh, in a typical non-AI world, it would take at least 2 months for somebody from the system admin or the network admin team to look into it, that there is something anomalous happening. And finally, you raise that, the person proactively identifies it and then raises a red flag, and then goes about doing damage control after most of the damage has been done. So this is how a traditional workflow happens with a non-AI system. Now, with AI in the fray, you can have AI as a second level of validation in each of these steps. Now, let's say the first step where the employee is entering his credentials into a phished link. Now, what happens here? You can have browser security tools that looks at the URLs that you are reaching out, and then find out if that is a phished domain or a normal domain. If you think about it, there are so many indicators that can tell you if it is a phished domain or a normal domain. The first thing is there a form? Is there something where you enter your credentials? Is there something where you enter details? Now, that is the first step. Then the second step is you look at all the top level domain of the URL that you are visiting, and then you look at all the CDN hosted, the logos, the content. Now, let's say I'm looking at ABC Bank, but then there could be a domain which is ADC Bank or ACB Bank, right? You see where the difference between the top level domain and the domains from where your images and where your CDN content are loaded. There are differences. So the AI engine analyzes a ton of these variables and marks that if a given link is a phished link, right? And if it's very confident with that, it clearly blocks accesses to it. right? So this in stage one, it prevents the operator from actually entering the credentials into a phishing link. But still, now let's say AI model is only 80% accurate. Let's say this check is gone. It goes to the next level where a ransomware has been downloaded into the system. Now what happens is there are endpoint protection system that continuously profile the behavior of the applications and of the users in the environment. And by looking at this profiling, today, malware and ransomwares are so smart that they come in, earn the trust of your traditional antivirus, and then after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they start sending, exfiltrating information to random domains. Now, your AI powered ransomware protection that is available via endpoint services can identify this anomaly. And now, let's say again, there's an 80% chance the things get missed here. Now, there is
Right.
continuous monitoring of your network traffic as well. So you look at all the IPs that you usually talk with, the amount of payload that is being transferred every day or every hour. All of that is there. Now, all of a sudden, you see a new IP. Which seems very suspicious, and you see there is a huge transmission of information with that particular IP. Now, at this level, the network monitoring team can actually see that all of a sudden there is some exfiltration of information that is happening. So maybe you want to see what that is happening. And now let's say we miss it in that step also. The sysadmin guy has raised a ticket in a service delivery tool. Now here, by looking at all previously solved issues very similar to this, by looking at your knowledge base on what do I do when there is a ransomware attack, what do I do when there is something suspicious going on with the hospital network, the mean time to respond to that ticket actually has come down with respect to the organizations that we see. So eventually you see AI sits here. It's not a very it's not standalone by itself. It's not something really big, but when it is tied to different parts of your IT processes, that is where we see the real value add. And you asked about some numbers that you can quantify. One thing that we have observed is not all organizations are same, right? So let's say the same set of AI APIs to three different organizations, the impact that the AI engine could have across these three different organizations are very different. So how are they different? The more digitally mature an organization is, the better the effect of AI on that organization. If you think about it, what is digital maturity? Digital maturity is how different systems talk to each other, how seamless are your are your systems digitized. So for example, if you still call your system admin and report issues, then that has to be digitized. There has to be a call transcription that goes into the system, because your AI does not like data and silos. Your AI engine works very well when it is able to see data from across tools, from across processes, from across systems. That is when it becomes more and more effective. So as an organization, how do I ensure better ROI on my AI? I think I would recommend 3 steps to do it. The first step is process streamlining. Have a process, right? Whatever has to be done, ensure that process digitally captures everything. Number one, process streamlining. And when you streamline your processes, number two will come in, which is data streamlining. Are your the data that you collect, the data that you orchestrate, are they analytics ready? Are they, for example, when we started off deploying AI in ManageEngine, we just found that there were about 100 different date formats, just date. But somebody is writing as DDMMYY, somebody is writing as MMDDYY, somebody writes Monday, 25th March or whatever, right? So you get it, right? There are 100 different date formats. And for the AI engine to work seamlessly, all of these have to be unified such a way that they become analytics ready. So number one is process streamlining, number two is data streamlining, and number three is how well do you use your existing automation, right? It's important to piggyback on a lot of existing rule-based automation so that your AI can come in and dynamically set these thresholds. So these three things will lead to digital maturity. Again, digital maturity is a very, very rolling target, right? For 5 years back, we didn't have a lot of mobile apps. Okay, 10 years back, we didn't have a lot of mobile apps. 5 years back, we didn't have remote work. But consistently adopting to all the latest trends, all the industrial changes that is coming into the system, all of these staying up to date, this digital maturity is also a rolling target. But a very digitally mature organization can expect to get the maximum value out of their AI engine can expect a reduction of about 30 to 40% mean time taken to respond for their incidents. And it could be an incident that happens on the employee scheme of things, or it could be an incident that happens in the customer scheme of things. But we could see a 30 to 40% reduction in the mean time taken to respond in a digitally mature organization.
Very true. I think you highlighted a very important aspect of why and how it's so crucial and essential to be a digitally matured organization in order to ensure that we have effective implementation of AI and also sharing some of the steps that you mentioned in terms of process streamlining and data streamlining. I think those are very critical aspects that most of the organizations fail to consider when they're implementing AI. Um, Also, the use case that you mentioned, my next question was somehow related to that use case.
Mm.
I think one of the primary concerns in AI is informational privacy, the protection of personal data, collection, processing, and storage also in these systems. The granular, continuous, and the ubiquitous data collection by AI can sometimes potentially lead to the exposure of sensitive information. And as we know, there are a lot of criminals and hackers out there who are waiting for this opportunity where they can actually exploit the vulnerabilities and make use of those sensitive information. So I have like two co-joined questions for you next. So one is like, how do you think the growing dependence on AI is raising concerns regarding data privacy? But on the other hand, we also think that AI can help tackle the privacy issues and enhance cybersecurity.
Sure, Priya. This is a great question, and I can keep talking all day, but I'll just try and keep it short.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
one thing is, over the years, we have, remember I talked about data as a revenue model, right? So our hardware or our software is subsidized by uh, giving back our personal data, right? Your phone, your smartphone actually knows that you're broke, but it still keeps sending you notifications to upgrade to the latest phone, right?
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
collects a lot of your information. Now, forget attackers, forget hackers. Now, think about this. There is a terminal cancer patient. He or she, any data that you collect out of that person, and then you get insights out of it, that is very valuable. But now, what if your food delivery app is sharing your information with your insurer, right? And it probably every night at 11 p.m. I'm ordering a milkshake and I'm having it. And now that information is sent to my insurer, and my insurer wants to jack up my insurance prices. You see the difference here. It is your data, but it is not working for you. It is working for the
Right.
profitability of somebody else. And
Mhm.
I think it's important to change this. There are very few companies that are calling privacy as a differentiator. For example, Apple's messaging around iPhone, Apple's advertising around iPhone has been around privacy, and I see that as a very, very positive change because your data has to work for you. Now, apply the same thing to enterprises, right? Uh, you cannot subsidize enterprise software just because you're collecting their data and training their AI models and use it for the benefit of everybody else. Now, let me give you an example. Let's say you have an AI engine that analyzes the percentage of patches that you have applied across your organization in your IT infrastructure. Now, if an AI engine harvests and says only 37% of the systems in your organization have been patched for this particular kind of attack, and look at how sensitive the information is. If that information goes out, the attacker or anybody with a malicious intent will know that just about 63% of your attack surface is open. You have not patched for this particular kind of vulnerability, so you can exploit that and get in, right? So it's more than ever important for organizations to ensure the AI service that they use and their data remains private. That remains, they should clearly have a control on who have by who I mean which all vendors have access to the data that you are generating and how are they using it, right? That becomes very important. You could have a good vendor that makes good use of the data that you have for yourselves, but if a vendor is trying to monetize your data, not directly but indirectly by training their AI model and deploying that in your competitor's place, now it's very important to have watertight data privacy controls both from a personal and an enterprise perspective. But let's focus on enterprises, because that is what we've been discussing about today. Companies have to ensure their data retention period, their agreements with their vendors, and how centralized is their data infrastructure. Is their data in silos? Who has access to this? Run periodic audits. And even when deploying AI, a lot of times we get questions, oh, what do you do with AI bias and privacy? So I mean, we just do AI on security, AI on service desk, but even then we have very strict bias and privacy protection protocols that are deployed into the system. And the thing is, the beauty about this is, it is again like digital maturity, it is a continuous investment. It will work very well on the day that you deployed, but eventually there will be a concept drift that is happening. Now, let's say something like prioritizing tickets in your service delivery tool. Now, what if your tickets are prioritized based on your gender? What if your tickets are prioritized based on your location, right? And you don't want that to happen. So one thing that we follow at ManageEngine is, we ensure no PII, personally identifiable information, both direct or indirect, ever flows into the AI engine. So the AI engine is immune to all of that information. And that is how we make this bias free implementation. And from a privacy perspective, again, it's very important to run continuous audits, because it's totally new, right? The field is evolving like really fast. If you're asking me the same questions tomorrow, I'm going to give you a different set of answers. If you're asking me the same questions 2 months later, I'm going to give you a very different set of answers, because that is the speed in which the field is evolving. But it's important to ensure the privacy, the data infrastructure, the bias protection. These are all the basics. You can never go wrong on all of these when deploying AI.
Very well said. I think uh, all the different aspects regarding privacy and data security. Um, I think every day something or the other is coming up, and it's very important to be updated with the different things happening around, and also making sure that you're flexible and agile enough to um, cope up with the new changes and ensuring that you have a strategic resolution towards that. So one last question for you. That would be, what are your views on the future of AI, specifically into the IT sector?
Sure, Priya. So, generative AI has made a mark in the last couple years now, but somehow it really hasn't made a very profound impact on IT yet, because a lot of times in IT it's more about it's more about trying to find out root causes, trying to forecast outages, than actually generating new stuff. There have been a few use cases where there is a security incident that is happening. You try and look at a log dump and try and connect the dots and see what is happening, and you're able to get that summary out of that information. So over the next few years, we will see a contextual combination of models, for example, statistical models like anomaly and forecasting, and then some small language models that could help you understand what the user in your service desk ticket is asking and give them a better response, and then medium language models that could help translate, that could help find out grammar errors in your service desk, that could help extract information out of invoices that lands up in your asset processing department, and then finally larger language models that could help you generate content. So instead of AI, it's going to be a lot of contextual intelligence that is going to make a mark in IT. Because if you think about it today, the standalone LLMs, they don't have much of context. But in IT, you have a lot of first party data access. Is this employee traveling? Where is his laptop right now? Which public Wi-Fi is he connected to? Is there something malicious going on, or has his laptop been stolen? So is the user pattern behavior different from what is normal when this person is traveling? So many first party data access that could really bring in a lot of context. So we see, not it will not be just one AI model. So think about the consumer world, you have the likes of ChatGPT, Gemini, and all of that, but it's not going to be something like that for IT. It's going to be a combination of different models, different kinds of AI models of different sizes, from narrow to small to medium to large, and all of these contextually work together to ensure you have the next best action at any given point in time. Over the next 2 years, that is where I see AI in IT going.
Definitely, and I also feel that the rapid rise of innovative technologies has led to more smarter and efficient businesses. And to resolve and prevent high severity outages, I think the IT industry will turn to artificial intelligence at some point. Um, um, when we're talking about machine learning or deep learning, I think it is somehow supporting or allowing AI to transform traditional IT operations, making them more smart, time saving, and also efficient. And the different, probably the aspects of IT that we can talk about are, I think, quality assurance, service management, or process automation, like you mentioned, are some of the main areas I think which AI can prove to be a more effective tool. I think it's already doing that, but in the future we'll expect more efficiency in terms of these aspects. And I think the concept of artificial intelligence operations seems to be like a more productive and a more effective way to manage IT operations. Well, thank you so much, Ram Prakash. It was a pleasure having you with us today. And I think we touched upon some pretty critical aspects and giving a more better perspective and a newer perspective to our listeners with regards to artificial intelligence or how digitally the IT operations can transform.
Absolutely, Priya. I enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Likewise. So this is for our listeners. Stay tuned for our more such podcast, and you can listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify and other leading platforms. Thank you so much.